and welcome to another Cigar Box Guitar slide lesson. So great fun to play this one. Got great sound. It's somewhere in between sort of early country blues muddy water style and sort of atmospheric Raikuda. So hope you have fun with it if you give it a go. And not too difficult. It's quite repetitive, and so whatever level you're at, you know, you can give it a try, see how you find it. If there's anything that's a little bit challenging for you, you can always have a look a few minutes in, and I'm going to put a link to some sort of more beginner level slide lessons, like there's a series of them from a couple of years ago. It's also using the current tuning we've been using, which is DGB. This is going to be the last one in the series, and there's some other classics that you can check out in this, including Guns N' Roses and Bob Dylan. And if you're also interested, you can download a PDF tab file for this lesson. So it's available on the website. There's a link up there somewhere and in the text description below. And I reckon let's get straight on with having a go at the tune. Okay, so as I was saying, this is the last lesson in this particular tuning, which is still using some of the strings, 3 of the strings from this 6-pack of regular guitar strings. So we're using strings 4, 3, 2 from this set, and we are in DGB tuning, which is in fact exactly the same as those 4, 3, 2 strings from a regular 6-string. And this is a relatively heavy set, as I've explained previously, and so string 4 is a 32 gauge, string 3 is a 24 wound, so string 4 is the D, string 3 is the G, and string 2 from this set is the B, which is a 16. So that would be, there's D, that's the equivalent of string 4, and then there's G, that's the equivalent of string 3 from the regular 6 string, and then there's B, that's the equivalent of string 2. And like I was saying, it's quite repetitive. It's not too difficult, this, but it might have a few little moves here and there which are slightly challenging for a complete newbie, complete beginner. So if you want to check out something which is maybe a little bit more sort of short exercise based, then there's a great playlist from a couple of years ago. I'll put a link to it. So it's weekly shorts, and it's got everything from fingerstyle, which we're definitely using here as opposed to flat pick playing, and loads on slide playing, so quite useful that. And I'll put a couple of other links later on for vibrato and whatnot. So, getting straight on with the tune, the first part is free time, and it's something like this. Okay, so what I'm doing there is I'm going to slide into fret 3 just on the top string, so I'm only covering string 1 with the slide, so I actually want a slight angle back without actually catching the side of the frets, because I want open D and G. So I'm just sliding on the B. I'm going to go from fret 1 because it sounds a bit more tuneful into 3. And what I'm doing there is I'm plucking them all together like a brush. So, and then I'm going straight back to fret 1, and I'm going to pluck that, and if I just lift the slide away without doing anything fancy, it basically creates a pull-off, which is the same as if you're using your fingers. So you can clearly hear it's going to the open string there, so that's quite handy. Do that with the bass at the same time, and then play strings, middle and bass. So, and then going into the slide note on the low D string, so I'm going to angle the other way this time. I'm going to, without catching the top of the neck, I want to clear strings G and B underneath, so I'm going to angle away just on that string, slide in, slow slide into 3, and hold it, try and let it ring out, so you end up with 3 notes ringing over. So that looks a bit like this. Slide in, so play all of them together, into 3, back to 1, do a little pull off, middle string, low string, slide into the low string, angling to miss the D and the G, the G and the B, sorry, so I can play them like that. So I'm sliding on the D, but want to be able to hear the open D and G. Now, what I'm generally doing with this is I'm trying to keep the thumb for the low D string, index finger for the middle G, and middle finger on the high B string. So generally I'm keeping those digits on those particular strings throughout it. So it'd be quite handy if you do that. You can see on the score on the tab that it says to do that. So we just repeat that, but we do a double slide into fret 3. So play them all together, and then just do another quick drop down and pick back up just on the single high B string. Rest of it's the same. So you can see that curved line on the tab signifies the pull off, and the straight diagonals the slide, isn't it? So you do that twice, and then finally we're going to cover all of the strings with the slide. We're going to go straight up to fret 5, and we're going to again do a brush, play all 3 strings together, slide down straight away to 3, and we're going to try and do one of those pull-offs from all of the strings, lift it off to the open. So 5, 3, open. So if you do it reasonably, you need a little bit of volume, and you've got to do it relatively quickly, and you can hear it. If you hang for too long, you can't hear it. But so that's 3 notes, 5, 3, open, and straight back into 5. As soon as you've done that, you actually do that twice. 5, 3, open, back into 5. And then for the third time, you do the same 5, 3, open, but go to fret 3 this time. So that third time is 5, 3, open, and then I'm just going to actually pluck with thumb and index on the D and the G together, fairly slow slide into 3, sort of say from about fret 2, and lift the slide off, and at the same time pluck the high B. So play in the D and the G together, lift off, and at the same time pluck with the middle finger on the high B. And what's actually happening here is, if you can see on the score, the tab, I've put don't re-pick notes in brackets, or if you're from the States, parentheses, because they're basically either ringing on, they're either carrying on throughout this tab from a previous note, which is called a tie, or it's a pull-off from a different note, and you don't want to re-pick it. So anything that's in parentheses, brackets for the UK, don't re-pick them, just pick whatever isn't in brackets. So after this slide in for 3, you lift off, and you, at the very same time as you lift off, you actually create a pull off. But at the very same time as you lift off, you pluck the high string 1, the B. So pull off, pick at the same time. So that's what that means. And then actually onto the next line, they continue ringing over, so they're both in brackets, parentheses as well. And then you just play the low D with your thumb. So that's how that move goes. So I'll play all of this first page in a minute, but basically the last 5, 3, open, the third one, then goes back into 3, and there's that pull off and extra pick that I was talking about. So we've got 5, 3, open, back to 3, lift off, pluck string 1, and then straight after that on the next line, the bottom line of page 1, first thing you do is just pluck with your thumb. Do that again. Now at this point I've suggested to play fretted notes, so if you set up and you can play slide and fretted, it might be quite nice to do this. So little chord shape, not too difficult. So we're on fret 3 of the low D and the high B. Try not to catch the open G in the middle. Brush, play all of them together, but maybe re-pick with your middle finger straight afterwards this high fret 3 that you're playing. Just repeat that from fret 2, fret 1, and then open. So that's your classic blues turnaround. And then we're just going straight into, as all good turnarounds do, to D. We're obviously in the key of G here, aren't we? So going up to fret 7 is just allowing us to continue back to start a full 12 bar cycle, which is on the next page. So and that is basically sliding in with index and thumb on the D and the G, and then playing the high B on its own with your middle finger and straight back to your thumb. Now there's a little pickup which is kind of part of the 12 bar. It's a little introduction into the next bit, so I'm going to ignore that. That's fret 3 if you can see it at the end of that page. So one more time from the 3rd slide down 5-3 open into everything that I just went through there. Sounds like this. Turn around, fretted. Into D, fret 7. There's a pickup, which I'll ignore until we get onto the next 12 bar. And if you're not set up for fretted notes, you can still play this turnaround. Basically, it probably sounds best to just select the low strings. So again, angle round, so you're not catching the G and the B underneath, and just play thumb on its own on fret 3 with the slide. Play the open G with your index maybe, then 2, 1. You know, that works fine as a turnaround. So that is all of the first page, which is basically just an extended introduction. And if you can see, it says at the beginning, intro, slow and free time. So we're not bothered at all about a pulse for all of the atmospheric stuff, sort of Raikuda-esque parts. But then when it gets to the turnaround, we want to play at the correct tempo. We're sort of setting the speed or the tempo for all of the rest of the tune. So that's the bottom line, line 4. So when we hit that, we want to start playing in time, basically. So all of page 1 would sound a bit like this. Little pull off. Double slide into fret 3. Apart from that, it's the same. And when we're ready, we're going to do a full cover all the strings. Back into 5. Let's do that again, sounds great. Let's do it for a 3rd time, but we'll change it at the end. And then in time. And we're off. So as with all of these tunes that we've been looking at over the videos, do it in sections. So stop this, rewind it, check the score, learn this first page. That's a great bit to get down before moving on. But when you are ready, we are going for a distinctly Muddy Waters sounding groove. for the start of the 12 bar. So hopefully you're familiar with the idea of 12 bar blues. It is just when you have blues that last for 12 bars, and typically you get 4 bars, 4 measures, that is, of G, and then if we're in the key of G, which we are, and then you go to 2 measures of C, and you go back to 2 measures, 2 bars of G. That's 8 up to this point, and then the most common way to finish it off with the final 4 bars is 1 bar of D, 1 bar of C, leading into the turnaround and finish on D. Basically the same as what I did for the introduction, and then you continue and go for another turnaround, do that for as long as you want, and then finish the tune. So that's what we're doing here. And like I was saying with the parentheses or the brackets, where you slide in and you lift the slide off and at the same time pluck this string. So I'm lifting off the middle string, and at the same time I'm plucking the high B string. That's exactly what I'm doing to go into the start of the verse. And then after that I'm coming in with the slide on, so angling across, because I don't want to catch the other strings, the G and the B, onto fret 3. In between there's a finger note on the high B. Let's go for fret 2, and let's go for open. So that's all on the D string there. 3 on the D, open B. Let's do that little slide in. If that's difficult, you know, you don't have to do that. You can just do a double pluck instead. It's fine. But I'll play it as it's written on the score, and feel free to adapt any of this, you know, because it's a blues. You just imagine you're improvising. So we've got, and then fret 3, finger on the B, do that again, okay. Now that happens 3 times. There's one slight variation after the slide in coordinated with the pluck. We can pluck that again, but don't worry about following this to the letter. You know, one of the main things is, I'll cover the rhythm in a minute, try and get a really good rhythmical feel. And if you change this slightly, if you're playing the right number of beats in the bar, and if you're changing to the correct chord, you know, if you're changing to C after 4 bars and all the rest of it, then it will still sound really good, you know. So it's almost like a guide, this. So that little pickup looks a bit like this. So slide in on the middle string. Again, I'm angling here, so I'm trying not to catch the G underneath. It sounds okay if I do, but I'm gonna try and just focus on the middle string. Again, that Weekly Blues Shorts covers like the slide angle and stuff. So slide in, lift off, play the B, and then slide into the bass, still angled. Okay, now the timing here is 2, 3, bottom of page 1, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4. So as with the vast majority of fingerstyle, your thumb's on the beat, and basically your fingers are plucking either with the thumb at the same time or in between, off beat. So you do that for 3 bars, and then the 4th bar of G plays the same move that we had in the intro, but now we're trying to make sure we put it in time. So 5, 3, open. Hopefully you can do that if you practice the intro. And then let's do another pluck into fret 3, slide into it. You can play all of them, and then lift that slide off and re-pick the open strings. So looking at the tab, this is bars 3 and 4 of G, which is line 2. So I'll do the little pickup into it. Line 2, 3, 4. Here we go. Different bit. Here we go. And right at the end of that line, you can see it goes to fret 5, because that's actually going early into the C. So it's like fingers plucking early, like a little pickup into the C. So I'm just going to ignore that for a moment, come back to it, but I'm going to play the first line of, the first 4 bars of verse 1. So here's the end of the turnaround, here's the pickup. So verse 1, 3, 4, 3, 4. Here's the extra bit, and then it's going to go into fret 5. So could be a good idea to practice that, because that sort of groove, that G groove, is going to come back in a moment when we've gone through the C. So the C is fret 5. This is the next chord we hit in a 12-bar blues, and this is covering all the strings at fret 5. And like I said, we've gone early with the fingers, so it's a brush with the fingers together, and then the thumb comes in on the beat, so it's 1, 2, 3. Now I said this was repetitive. Hopefully you can do that move by now. That comes in on beat number 4 in this bar. So I'll just go from bar 4, which is the last bar of G. Here we go. Going into the C, fingers, thumb on the beat, 2, 3. Do that move on beat 4, straight back into C, because we want to play the C for 2 bars. Do that move on beat 3 this time, and that is basically the move that's in the intro just before we go into the turnaround. So the first bar of C, do that slide down on beat 4, back in, do it on 3 this time, and we've got space to slide back in on into fret 3. So hopefully that line of C shouldn't be too difficult for you. I'll run the whole thing in a minute, and as soon as you've done that, 1, 2, 3, 4, so that was bar 6, this is bar 7, and then we're doing the same Muddy Waters bass sounding thing. There's the pickup. Let's do that descending slide move. So that's identical to bar 4. That's now bar 8. But instead of finishing bar 8 at fret 5 like we did in bar 4, we're going to finish it at fret 7 like we are doing in bar 8, because that's taking us into the D instead, the D chord, because we're now coming to the end of the 12 bar. Okay, so here are the first 8 bars from verse 1, and I'll just finish off with the D from the turnaround of page 1. So here's the pickup into verse 1. Here's the Muddy Waters bass line. This is the second bar, 2, 3, 4. Here's line 2, this is bar 3. And here's a bit of variation. Go to C early, fingers, thumb, 2, 3, slide down, back to C, slide on beat 3 this time, back to 3, and then here's the Muddy Waters descending bass line, and then here's the variation again. This time finish fingers thumb, so pick up with fingers but fret 7, and then that thumb I've just hit is the very first note of the D bar. And what we're doing here is we're just going to keep it going. Just do a little sort of triplet sounding pick where we've gone into D 1 early, 2, 3 on beat 4, do a step down, slide back in and go thumb and index together, and then middle index. That gives us a triplet, 1, 2, 3, down to C, and then the same descending C riff. So we keep recycling that, and however you're playing your turnaround, whether it's slide or fretted, we're keeping the turnaround exactly the same all the way through this tune. Okay, so I'll do this one more time. So this is going from the end of line 3, so the pickup into the turnaround of page 1, and then continuing into page number 2 and doing all of that particular 12 bar, which is all of page 2. So here's the pickup, so it's 4 and 1. Turnaround. I'm playing it fretted. You can play it with a slide if you want. Into D. And then here's the pickup into page 2. Muddy Waters-esque bass. Pretty repetitive. Do it 3 times. Here's the 3rd time. Here's a bit of variation for the 4th bar of G. Fingers thumb early with the fingers into C. Do that on beat 3 this time. Muddy Waters bass line. Variation on G. Finish on D, which is fret 7, little slide in triplet, C, and that riff again. Do the turnaround in exactly the same way as what you did on page 1. And we're into the second 12 bar, which is page 3.